Hi, this is Bill Ringle, host of the audio magazine, My Quest for the Best, where we meet business, thought, and community leaders to discuss issues relevant to entrepreneurial growth. Joining us today is Scott Belsky. Scott believes that the greatest breakthroughs across all industries are a result of creative people and teams that are especially productive, and is therefore committed his professional life to helping organize creative individuals, teams, and networks. Scott is the founder and CEO of Behance, a company that develops products and services for creative industries. Through his work, Scott has become an advocate for technology and community initiatives that empower the careers of creative professionals and help businesses leverage the creative potential of their people. He's worked with leading media and Fortune 500 companies, including General Electric and Hewlett-Packard. He's appeared in the Wall Street Journal and Business Week, and has shared Behance's research in segments on ABC News, MSNBC, and the U.S. State Department. Scott serves as a small business expert on American Express's Open Forum website, and in 2010 was included in Fast Company's 100 Most Creative People in Business. He's also the author of the best-selling book, Making Ideas Happen. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Bill. Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Tell me, how did you get started with Behance?
Well, Behance started from this really, an obsession of mine, which was helping organize and get the creative world in order a little bit. I just was very frustrated by the fact that so many creative people and teams that I knew who were writing screenplays, working on books, thinking of businesses they wanted to start, they would talk about what they wanted to do, and then they would talk about it again, and they would talk about it again, and months, if not years, would pass, and they would never make any real notable progress. And just that frustration kind of kindled this desire to help creative professionals kind of take the reins in their careers and actually do stuff. And that, I would say, was the catalyst for my work.
And how did you turn that idea, that obsession of yours, into a business?
It started by really understanding the problem I was trying to solve, recognizing, for example, going around and asking people, how do you organize on a daily basis? What tools do you use? How do you get yourself out there? How do you showcase your work, and how do you promote yourself? And realizing that these were all actual problems that people were struggling with. They were not able to do these things effectively. And I realized that there was room for a business with a mission to organize the creative world, especially when there's so many businesses and consultants and books all around helping people be more creative and more inspired. I was sort of focused on the opposite. I was focused on people who are already creative and already inspired to do what they want to do and really want to just roll up their sleeves and get it done.
That's interesting. I was thinking about, as you were saying that, you're doing the next step, the people who are inspired, because they want to take their inspiration and turn it into something tangible.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's very much, I always say that, I pick up after the point of the idea itself. Once you have an idea and you're thinking, now what? That's really where I'm interested.
And how do you, certainly, it's very clear that there are thousands and thousands of people out there with ideas that have a burning desire to turn it into a book, to turn it into a movie, to turn it into an event. How do you go about connecting with people who have that desire?
Well, one of the largest parts of our business is something called the Behance Network, BE.net, and this is a platform for creative professionals to showcase their work and get exposure and have us connect with them. So the predominant way is through this network. We also started a big conference about 3.5 years ago called the 99% Conference. It's inspired by that famous Edison quote, "The genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." And so here's a conference that's all about the execution of ideas. And what it does is it brings together, it serves as like a magnet, bringing together people from all different industries who similarly are very interested in the execution. And a lot of these people, don't even like going to conferences because they have enough ideas. They just want to focus on how to get them done. And this conference does only that. We actually only allow the people who speak to talk about how they execute and what they learned from the execution rather than the ideas themselves.
And when people come to these conferences, what are some of the results that they come away from? How do you do your follow-up to find out the results, and what are some of the typical results that people report?
Well, there are all sorts of ways we measure the effectiveness of it. One of the ways is just seeing what sorts of things people create afterwards. Each conference we actually ask people to write down what the idea is that they're really hoping to complete. and then we follow up with them a year later and hold them accountable and ask them their progress. What we also do is we have the videos and this whole sort of ecosystem online that encourages a lot of discussion between people. And so, certainly between the conference every year, there are all these articles that we're publishing on the execution side of the equation and people talking. And then the last thing is just, whether these people want to come back to the next conference. And the conference has become a very popular space for people to come again and again, and we have a lot of repeat attendees to the point now where actually this year's conference sold out a year in advance, and we have over 800 people on the waiting list. And so that certainly tells us that there's a niche here. There's a shared need that a lot of people have to be held accountable to their ideas and to work on the execution. And that's why we're trying to expand that part of our business.
That's great. One of the things that's interesting is that there are probably a lot of myths and misunderstandings about helping creative people bring their product to market or their ideas into a product. What are some of the common ones that you encounter that you think aren't very well known by people who are struggling with this problem?
Well, first of all, the biggest myth is that ideas happen because they're great or by accident. A lot of people think that the better the idea is, the more chance there is of it coming to market. And of course, we know that there's no such correlation. And all of us have walked into or walked out of a movie before thinking, how the heck did that get made? What a stupid movie. And of course, the movie did not get made because it was a great movie idea. It got made because the people were involved were executors. They were the ones who were able to successfully produce and retain talent and do this and do that. So, that's what we're trying to do, is dispel the myth and focus on a lot of the best practices are really at play. One of which is organization. How do you manage your energy on a daily basis? Do you run too many meetings? Do you not? What do you do in your meetings to make sure that they're actionable? How do you measure the outcome and the effectiveness of meetings? How do you consistently optimize the way you work and the way your team works? A lot of us make a mistake whenever we are successful at something. When there's something that we do well, we don't focus on improving it because the horizon of success is blinding. When something that you're trying to do is working out for you, you focus on things that need to be fixed rather than optimizing things that are working. And with the most effective creative leaders in the world, they're constantly optimizing the way that they work and the way that they do things, because that's really what they recognize as their competitive advantage, is what they actually do well. And then such as organization, there also are uncommon or counterintuitive ways that creatives leverage their community for accountability and feedback and refinement of ideas, and the way that leaders lead creative teams in retaining talent and keeping people motivated, sharing ownership, again, in somewhat counterintuitive ways that make all the difference.
What's a recent success story you've had from either the conference or working with people as a follow-up?
There are all sorts of success stories, love hearing. One recent one, for example, is someone who's sort of a designer/creative director out in Los Angeles who was working in a big advertising agency. And he put on Behance his portfolio of work and his design work and some of his photography he does on the side and his creative direction stuff, and started getting all of these emails, people contacting him to have him do things on the side. And he was getting so much of it that he decided that he could really leave his job, which he didn't really enjoy so much, and work full-time, really focus on clients that he was interested in. And so he did that. And then one of the new freelance things that he got was from a company down in Cupertino called Apple. And they asked him if he could do some stuff for them on the side. And that was going really well, so they decided to hire him full-time internally. And so he got hired by Apple, and again, they found him on Behance. And he was there with another designer there who he really got along well with, and they had this great idea for an iPhone application. And so they decided to leave Apple together and start a company. And the first version of their iPad application was actually a project that they launched on Behance, and it ended up becoming the source of the first few thousand users of their application. And so here's an example of someone's career that's been transformed not once, not twice, but 3 times as a result of the platform. And that's the kind of thing we want to happen more often.
Did you make use of the platform yourself when you wrote your own book?
Yeah, I posted versions of the manuscript, and sneak peeks of some of the imagery on Behance as a project, and I think that, we've built the Behance network to be a platform to showcase and discover creative work. And so we think that it doesn't only appeal to the people who create the work, but also the people who want to discover it. We're hoping that people use the platform to showcase all sorts of work, and we're always encouraging people to use it to discover work of all kinds as well and be sort of fans.
That's right. It's kind of a community that understands the creative process, and they have different insights to it versus people, say, the creative person's family.
Right.
How has the book impacted your own life and your business?
The book has just been, an incredible way to open the doors to large organizations that, may find some of our technology too forward-thinking, may not be really ready for some of the things we're trying to do in the creative industry, but all share the common desire to help their creative people that they currently employ execute more effectively. And so the book has brought me to, whether it's companies like GE or Procter & Gamble, to the United States government, to the military. I had one exciting, interesting experience actually visiting the CIA, talking about some of the best practices that could be leveraged for, one of their teams. And it's just been a life-changing opportunity to travel the world and talk about it. So Making Ideas Happen really, reached a much broader audience than what Behance typically reaches. And that's been really, really exciting.
How do you look at yourself, your own abilities, your own reach now differently now that you've published a book? I mean, you're a person who started off and said, I want to create a book, and now you look in the mirror and you say, I'm a person who's published a book.
Yeah, it's scary to have something in print, right? Because you write something, and then as soon as you write it, it's in print, and then years can pass, and thoughts can change, but the book doesn't change at all. Although I did get to write a new foreword for the paperback, which is coming out in a couple months, which is exciting. I mean, it's been a really great, as an entrepreneur who's trying to change the mindset of an industry, it's very helpful to have the amount of credibility that comes along with writing and being able to then speak about what you write about in front of, tens of thousands of people. I think I've tried to capitalize on that as the wind at our back, as we're trying to do a lot of different things at our company.
Was the writing process as difficult as you expected? Easier? Harder?
It was difficult. I'll never know if this is entirely true. I do believe that it's somewhat like, it must be the ups and downs similar to a pregnancy, where when you're writing a book and you have an idea for something you want to write, the act of conception of that idea is a lot of fun and very quick and easy, except as soon as you have the idea that you're suddenly working on and you have a manuscript, it suddenly becomes very painful and worrisome, and it's drawn out. And, it took me about 9 months to wrap the manuscript together. And many times, when I was going in for a checkup with my editor, I was always worried, what was he going to tell me? What was I doing wrong? What was I doing right? And then the final few weeks of pushing this out and getting this done was a very painful experience in itself. And I remember thinking to myself, no way will I ever do this again. I mean, this is just, how could I put myself through this again? And then you get it out, and then they send you a copy, and you hold it in your hands, and you think, oh my goodness, this is beautiful. I'm so proud of it, and how much fun this is. And then people start to read your book and tell you that they appreciate it, and then you start to wonder, well, maybe I would do this again. Maybe it wasn't so bad after all. And that would be that was sort of the experience in a nutshell. And whether or not that is similar to a pregnancy itself, I have no idea, but it certainly reminds me of what I've heard.
That's a great analogy. Has it impacted your business? It's opened doors, and has that led to company growth for you?
Yes, certainly. I mean, the book has been just a great calling card for our business to reach out to new types of people and to build more credibility in different places we didn't have it, and to engage new sorts of customers. More importantly, it's just about our message. I mean, our company, we wanted to be a medium agnostic business, meaning that while many companies say they're a technology company or a paper company or a consulting company or a conference company, we didn't want to be about our medium. We wanted to be about our mission, which was to help empower and organize creative people to make ideas happen. It's one thing to say that, but it's another thing to really preach it, or to do it. The way we do it is by pushing out this conference every year, running the 99%, our think tank, focusing the technology behind Behance. And the book really, I think, helped make this abundantly clear.
Because the book goes into details about how that all operates together?
Yeah, I mean, the book is all about making ideas happen. It's not about the technology. It's not about our product. And that's, I think that sends a very strong and powerful message to the world, which is Behance is about this broader mission, and it's not about the technology or the things that it creates, per se.
Now, who would you say is your inspiration for getting up every morning and going out there and staying focused on this mission and helping creative people make ideas happen?
Well, I think that a lot of the people that I really look up to have become, really my colleagues. I have just an incredible team of people, no real expertise in the areas of design or technology before getting this business off the ground 5 years ago. And the people that I surround myself with every day now are the people who taught me everything I know. And that's I think what keeps us all so motivated and working together. So I think that's a big part of it. There are people like Seth Godin and others who have been mentors of mine in, whether it's in the writing part of my life or there are other people that have been mentors of mine on the technology side of my life and being an entrepreneur. And now I get the opportunity to also be an advisor to other companies and kind of return the favor, which is, a great honor.
And as you look forward to growing your business even further and impacting more lives, what would you say is one of the biggest challenges that you have to overcome in the next 2 years?
I think we have two of the biggest challenges. I think deciding, which things to do first, prioritization is always a real challenge in a business like ours with so many creative people and so many things we want to do. It's just really a matter of time of a day. We're really always trying to debate what we should be doing first and what we can wait for. So that's something that will be an ongoing challenge. And as a manager, I think I have to become better at helping the team prioritize and helping us lead those discussions to make the right decisions. I think another challenge will just be the pace of change. In the technology business, there's no idle moment. Everything is changing at light speed around you, and you just have to really try to keep up and always try to stay ahead of the game.
What are the sources that you like to read to help you stay on the edge of what's happening in the technology world? Are there magazines? Are there online websites, blogs, Twitter feeds? What do you find most helpful?
On the technology side, I read TechCrunch and Mashable and Engadget and Apple Insider and a bunch of other sites to really keep me appraised of what's going on in the technology world. And I think that I use Twitter religiously as a way of following the streams of people that I admire and are honest and have candid thoughts and insights in their Twitter stream that reveals, the kinds of things that they're dealing with, can give me insight into the kinds of things that I'm dealing with. So Twitter is just a great way of, following curators. And I just think that Twitter in many ways has made everyone a curator of what's most interesting to them and what they want to make an impact in this world. And Quora, the site Quora, is just a phenomenal resource for learning from the experts. And I certainly follow a lot of different threads on Quora.
Well, Scott, you've shared so many great ideas with us today. It's terrific, all of the ways that you've learned to take your obsession with helping creative people organize their world and make ideas happen. So I want to thank you so much for sharing the ideas around the myths of getting ideas made, the ideas about publishing the book and the struggle that it took, and how it now acts as wind at your back, and the ideas about where you get your inspiration and as you grow your company and impact more people, help them be successful in making ideas happen. Scott, thank you so much for joining us on My Quest for the Best.
Thank you so much for having me.